Welcome, everyone, to another new teaching show. I'm joined by Laura the Explorer and Dale Forever Late Tobin.
Hello, everybody.
How's everybody doing today?
We're
Yes,
doing good,
excited,
thank you.
excited.
Yeah.
Part three
Mm,
underway.
mhm.
So today we are going to be reviewing Galactic History Part 3, Uncut and Uncensored. What do we remember about Galactic History episode number 3? Because I have forgotten whatever episode 3 was about.
I think
Uh,
so. When I first watched it, I started on episode 11. I think it was. I watched like the 11th film, and I went backwards to the start. I was like,
A lot
I
of people did that. When I looked at the analytics, a lot of people did that.
I think you mentioned there was talk on service to self ascension.
I think we did that in 2.
You did it
yeah,
in three
We
as
must we
well.
must we must have revisited it. Yeah.
Yeah. You touched on that and on CERN and the quarantine grid,
Uh huh.
and
um,
I
the
think we've gone
planets. When
already.
we're talking, yeah, go on, Dale.
I think we've gone over the leapfrogging cities, haven't we? The air cities. That
Yeah,
was
That
the
was the
last one.
last one. That was
that
Yeah,
2
was
leapfrogging
two.
air cities
That
and
was
the war
two.
between Atlantis and Lemuria.
Yeah,
Yep.
and
I think we touched on a little bit of the various mystery schools in charge of the world.
mhm. And
yes.
ascended masters as well.
Yes, the Ascended Masters. Yes, the
Yeah,
foundations of them.
CERN was part of it as well.
Yep.
So what's happened with all of that? Let's start with service to self ascension. Is anything more known on it in 10 years?
Well, as I said before, they did it.
Yeah.
So Prime Creator invited, said, "Sure, you want to come in and take the job over? Let's give you on the job training," and they didn't work out well. Okay, so we're really down to 2 of the 15 multidimensional beings. The
Mm.
ones that didn't survive moved on to the other galaxy slash other universe, or were ended up erased. And erased means erased, gone. No
And
more, no more record for you.
so, for these last parts of multidimensional beings, is it up to us to be able to finish that last layer of kind of us doing the manifesting of getting rid of them, like the kind of illusion, breaking the illusion? And this is something I saw in the actual medicine journey.
Yes,
Yes,
I've also said we'll have to take their power out of their cold dead hands.
there you go, exactly that. Yeah,
Okay?
yeah.
Taking power back out of their cold dead hands. Who kills them? They could kill themselves. All sorts of very weird things can happen between now and that time where, like, hey, we're free. Okay? But so many people didn't realize these episodes came out in 2013. They didn't realize they've been out 10, going on 10 years. Okay? June will be, they've been out for 10 years. And there are people that come to him new and they're like, they like going on and like, I've been doing material for 10 years and I've done plenty of galactic updates, so I didn't want to do any more. That was blue in the face. They'll be like,
No more
Galactic
follow-up
update.
updates.
So
Well,
this is
what
what you
then?
get now. A review.
Because
Yeah.
we asked loads of times, didn't we, Laura? We were like, "Follow Earth update this week." You're like, "No, fuck off."
Exactly. Full off.
So in 10 years, okay, it's 10 years since you recorded those, Andrew.
Yep.
What do you think has been the biggest shift that you've seen? Yeah, I mean that's a very general question, but
Well,
what?
the fracturing of the negative surface world capacities to manipulate people and predict their futures.
Mhm.
Technologies that they believe were unbreakable were broken. Systems that they thought were unbeatable were beaten, and they kept improving them, and then they won, and then they lost. But all in all, it's their ability to predict our 6 year, 10 year, 20 year, or 1,000 year future. That's been reduced to a handful of hours now, which is still amazing, but they can't. A good portion of the people, we'll say 40% cannot be predicted more than 6 to 10 hours ahead of time. And the remaining 60%, maybe a couple months. And obviously, there's always a few that will deep into prediction time, but they're minuscule compared to the larger number. And if you can't predict 6 years or 10 years into the future with the political system that we have in this world, you won't be able to maintain the stranglehold over the information. Look what's going on in general world politics now. Things are falling apart, aren't working out the way that they wanted. The rollout of the you know what I'm talking about. The
Yeah,
coffee sickness that didn't work well, or any of the other programs that they're tried that absolutely miserably failed because they're terrible at marketing.
it's like nothing sticks now. Everything what comes about, it's like, yeah, okay, then it'll go, then it'll come, then
Right.
it'll go, and nothing seems to stick like it used to do.
Mm. And
Exactly.
we seem to propagate our own fear, though. I mean, that's one of the things, isn't it? That is part of the illusion, and us perpetuating maybe a little bit. They put some fear out there,
Yeah,
and then that we add
I
to
want
that.
to add something. So the other day, you guys had a show with David, the Crazies.
Mm,
Okay. Now there are the Crazies that are the Save the Children, the extreme ones. Then you have the conspiracy theory guys who are stuck on Tartaria. And then you have the crazies who are still stuck in, let's say, the lizard people are coming to eat you. Okay? So those are old stories that keep getting regurgitated by idiots.
mm,
Okay? But the system itself is purposely regurgitating many of these subject matters. Many of the people in 2012, they were 8 years old. They would have never listened to this stuff now. Okay, they're now how old now? Okay, they're 10 years later. They're 18,
mm,
they're 20, they're 25. If they were teenagers and didn't listen to this before, they're in their early 30s now,
mm,
and they're beginning to wake up. And where do you start in this world of information?
mm.
Who's your opening person? They're like, whoa, that changed my life. For a lot of people back in the old days, ha ha ha, it was David Icke.
Mm.
Okay, and then Greg Braden, George Norrie, any of the guys that have been around for 20 plus years. Okay,
Mhm.
they were the introductions into conspiracy world, or the advanced conspiracy world beyond JFK was assassinated by whatever group. They're the ones that are jumping into every every Archangel Michael tweet that's saying I hold. Okay.
Every Archangel Michael fart.
Right. And I'm going to tell you right now, if any archangel or any channeled being tells you to buy gold or silver, run as far away as you can. So Paulo, yes, wokeism is an example of a failure, complete and total failure.
They're running out of themes of fear.
Oh no, they have plenty of themes of fear that they can regurgitate over and over again. They try to get us with the pole shift, okay, and
Oh
then
yeah.
pole shift didn't come. Okay,
Mhm.
they're trying to try us with California's going to fall into the ocean. That didn't work. Now
Mm.
they're trying to get us with the next cough disease, and
Mhm.
this and that. They got plenty in the toolbox, but it's if you've watched 100 horror movies, are you afraid of the horror movies, or are you just a fan of them?
Yeah. So
And
it's nothing new, is it?
right, so then we have an entire genre of people who are doomers and gloomers who are praying for the end of the world.
Mm.
Okay, we did a show on doom and gloom.
We
That's
did.
become
Yeah.
its own unique genre. They want the world to end.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And the people as well, the global warming stuff, what went on, with like you see Leonardo DiCaprio campaigning on a big level for it, and that kind of didn't stick, did it? That they were saying in 10 years we're going to be in deep shit. 10 years came, and we're still here. It's all good.
All good,
Yeah.
exactly what it was before.
Yes.
5G,
Yeah,
chemtrails. I think you talked about chemtrails in Galactic History 3 as well.
yep.
Mm.
But
And like,
everybody, what about chemtrails? The negative chemtrails have been ceased operations in 2017 when they were completely dismantled. Okay? And then they started doing positive chemtrailing, meaning they're trying to fix the mistakes that they made.
Ah.
Okay?
Wow. So
Same
you
thing with
get some
HARP.
guy going
Same
outside,
thing
look
with,
at that, getting
same thing
pissed
with
off.
HARP. And people's like, oh, you're ruining my conspiracy. No, shit evolves.
Yeah, even shit evolves.
Yeah.
That was a classic post in 2018, was someone posting a chemtrail, and the amount of angry faces, it was like every day you're waiting for someone to post one. I can't believe it,
Exactly.
man, like it's disgusting.
Like I could see chemtrails out this morning. Was it like all over the sky? No, it was a couple zigzags here, a couple zigzags there. Big deal. I know
Yes.
it's not for anymore. What will
No.
it take for others to see that it's not for the negative?
Well, there's no one to tell them. There's no oral historians like yourself, teachers who actually do the practice on themselves, speak from a place of truth and heart. There's none of those really, unless you go to indigenous tribes and nations where you don't really see them on media. So there's yeah, it's really hard. Yeah,
I'm the lone wolf out there saying the chemtrails are not bad anymore. So be it. I'll take on that. I'll take on that moniker.
Also, I think people don't really understand about creating your own reality through belief as well.
Sure. And creating your own reality can be a negative belief too,
Hmm.
especially if you're suckered into a belief that's three quarters real. Okay, like the
Yeah.
revaluation of currency. Yes, the currency
Yes.
is going to revalue, but never to your advantage.
Yeah.
They're not going to come and give
No.
you $1 million, everyone in the world $1 million. That would crash the economy worldwide. There's no logic that's put into these greater concepts. Okay, who runs the factories if everyone has $1 million? Okay, who
Yeah.
delivers the mail? Who processes the bank check? We don't have an automated world where that can happen. Well, let's get into the review. Okay. So for everybody that is out there, head on down to your chat room wherever you're at. Type in hi to us, and this is where we're going to be taking questions about the different aspects of Galactic History Part 3. All right, go ahead and hit the first play, and I'll tell you when to pause.
Okay, we're on part 3, and this is Lance White with Andrew Bartzis, and we are going to Galactic History, and we left off at a point where we were talking about the event and Lemuria.
Let's talk a little more about Lemuria. I was describing air cities leapfrogging through time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, leapfrogging through time means you're trying to fan out and sand down the bumpy parts of the timeline where other species forcefully get here and create timeline wars. So their goal is to stop that. Just to a point where they were able to stop some of it, enough of it for them to go back in time and to. When Lemuria was before its first fall, there were over 170 billion people living on this planet.
Wow.
It was a really big planet.
Yeah.
They began to ferry through the timeline those people so they wouldn't have to be stuck in this war part.
Mm-hmm.
So they could clear out that other timeline, especially when they moved the planets. So it started favorable to the new timeline. Lemuria's second phase went to about 85 billion people on the planet.
Mm.
But that 85 billion people weren't first species people.
Mm.
Many of them were refugee planets people that Earth adopted as brothers and sisters, or daughters and sons. Their planets were under domination and control, and the beings that were out traveling and couldn't come home had to have somewhere to go, had to have a sacred feminine entity connected to it. If you're from a planet and your planet sentient loses lots of its vibration and you use breeding, you get into the clone factor where many species out there can no have children, don't know how to be pregnant, stuff like that.
Mhm.
They came here, Earth adopted them, and the population raised and raised, and then the consciousness of the planet raised, the consciousness of our system raised, the consciousness of our sun raised, and the total sine wave of consciousness that represents our system spiraling around the galactic central sun means we can go a little faster. Time gets refined at this point. It isn't anywhere like we think we see now.
All right, so we're getting some kind of delay and choppiness in there. Um, I was still able to hear quite a bit. So we were reviewing about Lemurian air cities there and leapfrogging through time and the amount of people that were heading from other planets to head here. Um, any questions on that so far? As we give Joel a chance to figure out what to do. Cricket?
I swear,
Sorry,
I'm getting
just
deja vu.
muted.
Didn't we do this bit last time? I'm trying to
I
think.
thought we did this bit last time, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I've got full on deja vu with this. So, what is kind of like the reality of the Lemurian air cities now? Is it just kind of as you connect to them, you can connect back in time to them, or do they have like an existence
Well,
in now?
in this part of the episode, he's reviewing what was going on in the last episode. He was asking
Ah,
about. We started a
okay.
new episode, and what I was doing was redefining how the air cities were leapfrogging through time. But there are waves of people immigrating from other worlds who are hoping to hitch a ride on an air city if they can arrive at the right point of space and time, which didn't always happen. So they ended up incarnating in the planet, waiting for a time where an air city would be a light city or an air city would be there, and oftentimes they were never there when the different soul frequencies aligned. And part of the Atlantis and Lemuria wars, multiple air cities from multiple time frequencies came in, and that's when they began to realize, hey, we're all the same ancestors. And that's when trillions and trillions of beings were then begun the longer term journey of leapfrogging through time. This would have been about 27, 25 million years ago. And remember, they're leapfrogging 2 million years into their future. We're again 22, 24 million years away from that particular point in history. Can you imagine going 2 million years into the future without no idea if even the planet's going to be there?
Wow.
What's going to be left with it?
So
So
can
they're still in our future, these Lemurian air cities.
Technically,
Okay.
technically, when you've been leapfrogging through time for this long, they're in every future, potential future.
On any timeline, or only the Ascension timeline.
The Ascension timelines, yes.
Okay.
so are any of beings or races going forward to the Great Awakening and coming back? Are
Yes,
any? Yes.
we have
And
many ancient humans coming back to the present time to understand what actually happened to create the awakening.
wow, that's fucking so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
People who've just got here from another world are like, "What the fuck happened, man?" Right, see ya. That's so cool.
So are they also bringing people back to this? Is that what Dale's just asked? They're bringing people back to this timeline.
No, they're
Uh,
bridging the gap between a time erasure wave when history was erased during the time erasure events during the resets where we had to go
mhm.
back to the beginning and restart. These beings are leapfrogging ahead of a time erasure wave and looking for a way to get onto another timeline where the time erasure wave restarted and there's a linear time in which they could jump into.
Is that because they need a planet that's in the galactic ascension machine that is attached to the tree of life? Because they need
The
a
answer
seed
is
planet.
yes, but they didn't understand it like that then.
Okay.
They understood time was being erased by these time travel wars that turned into galactic erasure events, which affected mass amounts of populations and societies. And they knew this was because they had timeline fallout shelters that where they could go outside of time and then reseed themselves back in time. Air cities slash light cities, they're all one and the same. They are an ephemeral type city that's made of energy that floats in the air, that's connected to high chakra points, at planetary chakra points, that allows time and space to function different there. And in a handful of, let's say, if an air city looks like it's 1 mile by 1 mile, it has 2,000 miles of space inside it. It's a compressed, semi extended internal dimensional process. And they're used as linkage points between an ancient history in the past and an ancient history in the present and an ancient history in the future. And they're using these air cities, more hundreds of them, not just one, hundreds of them, to take 10 trillion people from an ancient past who are facing time erasure waves if they don't stay ahead of the time erasure waves. So they're using them as ferry points, jump off leapfrog points, so that they don't get taken over by the time erasure waves. And then the cities that are in the deepest aspects of the future are able to get back onto a linear timeline where the erasure wave completed and new histories were created.
So the immigrants, or rather the refugees, were they left over from other planets of domination and control?
Yes. And Earth took them on as a new first species because Earth has technically 72 first species if you include the refugee species. Where they were lost in Earth and its population at the time opened up arms to come to this place and rest and recover.
So, as Klaus is asking, was Earth a rescue place then? I guess it was because it was a sea planet.
Yes.
Is a
Yes.
sea planet.
Yeah.
Okay. So you want to go back to try it again, Joel? Go ahead and get play.
Gets redefined at this point. It isn't anywhere like we see now. So when we see people in books saying 300,000 BC it was this, 200,000 BC, it isn't that because time doesn't work like that in the past. We're basing it off of our time. Time here right now is just a social agreement.
Yeah.
How many calendars do we have in this world? How many time dates do we have? Universal time, Greenwich Mean Time,
Oh, right.
daylight savings
Right.
time. Time is social. It's not a universal concept anymore. So when we try to gradiate backwards what time is, it begins to fail because our written history has been manipulated by time travel, by people that knew what was happening in 2011 and read the books that led up to it. And they're the ones that wrote them also.
Right. Now, does that include the sacred texts as well? Like
Many of them have been hijacked, but to have religion, you have to have good in it.
right.
Absolutely have to.
Right.
Otherwise, the falseness won't create. Now, when Lemuria rose its second time, there was a heavy spiritual influence that created the first semblance of religions, where sects of people created this religion, sects created this religion, this religion. Some was around technology, some was around unity consciousness travel, some was around no technology and you lived in the dirt, but you had all of the DNA technology in your body to go anywhere you wanted. And every time you came back to Earth, it was to be on her soil with bare feet, barely any clothes, making your own home out of what the Earth provided to you, creating your oral traditions so when souls would come together in the dream world and then in the physical world, they can procreate new soul families here. This is what Lemuria was about at this raise. They were trying to get back into the concept that Earth is a seed planet. It's meant to bring DNA wisdom to new planets or young planets so that they can have souls that go there, have the technology that go there, so that the commerce of consciousness expands throughout the universe because our universe is ever expanding. So Lemuria had the technological issue, and it's the same issue that with Atlantis. Technology comes to a point where the generation that's leaving and the generation that's coming in don't have the same point of view.
Oh, right.
Okay, so
Right.
one technology that is absolute unity bliss type can be turned into a weapon that can be used somewhere else in a different type of reality.
Mm-hmm.
Lemuria had very little choice but to end some of the dramatic timeline, the dramatic karmic lines out there, which was to create a military force and go out and defeat and begin to recapture the worlds under domination and control.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, there are as many as 200,000 worlds that were in domination and control. It had spread that quick.
Mm.
Well, 200,000 means that they can put a lot of souls in spiritual invasion. You have to stop that at the source. At this point, cities were created out of crystal that were built on heavy-duty earth chakra points that were as many as 300,000 of the most powerful psychics in the world would come and sit in this crystalline city, remote view, remote experience, and remote attack another planet's sentience or its species on the surface and kill everyone there.
Wow.
Because that was the only way to stop that invasion.
Wow.
Or a meeting point, a rendezvous point of 10,000 vessels coming to invade here. They'd wait for them to assemble and then psychically attack everyone inside.
Wow. Now, were some of those people us, in a sense?
In a sense, yes.
In a sense.
Because the migration patterns are coming in and out. Lemuria's first rise and fall, big migration away, big migration back, big migration away, big migration back.
So it seems that all these wars are never ending because they can't. Once you destroy something, then you have the retaliation. You have
Correct.
the swing of the
And it could take 1,000 or 1,000,000 years for someone to
Right.
rebuild.
Right.
And there's 2,300 separate races out there that have had their nose smacked with a rolled up newspaper. Okay?
Right, that's true. But the same 15 beings
Are the ones that are pulling the dramatic strings to light the fire of anger in other worlds so
Yeah.
that they will build faster and recover faster and attack harder.
Now, what dimensions do they exist in? If
The
they're-
15, there's 3 that are 6th dimensional,
Okay.
2 that are 7th dimensional, 6 that are 8th dimensional, and the rest are 9th.
Wow.
And the 9th dimensional ones are here from the 3rd generation of immigrants from other universes here, so there were only 3 galaxies in our universe when these beings migrated here.
So they probably consider themselves the big kids on the block.
Yes. I call them the Galactic Mafia
Yeah.
because they're separate of light and dark, even though they are both light and dark at the same time.
Yeah.
But they're not neutral. Their goal is to become a new galactic prime creator in a galaxy that already has a prime creator. So that eventually they can go from galaxy to galaxy to galaxy and be the prime creator in a universe. When this universe was created, the sentients created a contract with our multiverse to say, I'm going to be a universe to create consciousness, evolution, and expansion, and invite immigrants from other dimensions to experience free will. These are entities that want to limit the 100% free will, one galaxy at a time.
Right.
To the positive?
So it's a self-serving,
Correct.
right? And that now in this period of time when everything is reworked, the 2011-2014 time frame, are they working for a graduation date as well?
Yes, that's called service to self-ascension.
All right. That was a lot of information in there in that 4 minutes.
Yes.
Where do you want to start? Remote assassination of timelines, remote hundreds of thousands of world. That's where we first brought up that concept of what was going on to end the systems of domination and control that had rapidly spread during the first downfall of Lemuria, and the second rise, and then when the rise and fall of Illyria and Atlantis began to cross over.
So just it's a little off. Well, it connects to the topic, but when we go into this kind of dharmic state where we're going into the universal law and karma is no longer going to be present here, what's going to happen to the timelines when that happens? Obviously, it's happening at the moment. But what effect is it having on our timelines? Us going into that stage of remembering.
Let's expand the answer to understand. Once karma is not an abusable law here anymore, we have to learn from it. So the records will become fully available to those conscious beings who are capable of maintaining their own connection to the record. So consciousness will now be scaled differently. So you don't need steam power to be consciousness, but before you needed some level of industrialization or some level of spirituality to be titled a medium level consciousness world. A whole different gradient system for growth of spirituality and worlds is going to be created, which will replace the karmic system. And those that are the beings of power will have their natural duty to have a protective cocoon around those that are growing, and those that don't want to be in the protective cocoon can leave. Because there's a fine line between stepping on a journey and allowing them to have their natural organic growth. Okay, once karma is relieved from that, we have to learn from the past, so it'll be fully available for everybody to know why we ended that journey. And if you want to deal with ancestral karma and all its abuses, there's these other galaxies and universes you could go to for that experience.
So, going to the founder beings of and their role here. So, is it like did they make a mistake? So, this obviously galaxy was free will. Did they just see how it played out, and obviously its prime
Oh,
purpose was?
they weren't here. The founder beings left.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They kind of like
Right.
made that mistake of going and leaving all of this pollution and all of the assassinations. Um, yeah,
No, that's what humans created.
yeah.
So, so Pauline, it seems like the Lemurians knowingly created karma to compensate for other karma. How does the Great Forgetting relate? That's the whole point of the Great Forgetting, was to forget about all the karma that was done, so you can start fresh and have a gut-based intuition if something needs to be resolved between you and somebody else. Was no longer the wisdom of the karma being affecting the moment. That's why the Great Forgetting is so potent and powerful, and it was something that was used to negate the effects of the karmic abuse. But karmic abuse figured out how to use the Great Forgetting against people in a longer term process, which is manipulating their historical times and altering the actual written records, and then stopping access for beings who naturally have access to the Akashic record from living on the world. That's why domination control spread so fast. All you had to kill was the oral teachers and historians, and the people had record to the records to the world's records, whether they were written records or the psychic records. And once you eliminated that, you could manipulate a species into any direction you wanted them to go.
So just going back to the founder beings, so they left, and then when they came back, domination and control had actually taken over this
No,
planet.
no. When they left, Lemurians and Atlanteans rose up and created a society, they were the leftover iPhones.
Oh,
Okay?
okay, yeah.
But at the same time, there were humans everywhere. And they began to unite human worlds and non human worlds. Humans were the creations of the founders to take up space in this part of the three sections of three galaxies that are coming together to exchange life force. There are things beyond human, and the founders created non human races too, but when the founders left, there was a battle to take over their space and galactic role of who's the adult in the room. And the Lemurians arose as the adult in the room, and for millions of years they did very well. Until the others and the introduction of the war karma from the war worlds came in, which radically altered the way things were done because the iPhones didn't do war. Okay, they weren't programmed to do that and had to learn how to do it. And that's why domination and control spread so fast. And karma was being abused and abused. Remember, but you also had 15 multidimensional beings purposely abusing the rules in front of the scenes, behind the scenes, and super subtly in other dimensions to encourage the drama to get stronger and harder.
But so much of that power has now been taken away from them. If there's only two left, were we saying earlier on?
Yeah, but they're the ones that have to finish the story.
Mm-hmm.
You can't finish the story without a villain, can you?
Mm-hmm.
And through this awakening, then, do we eventually everyone will realize they have founder DNA within them, and everyone is in fact a founder being? Is that kind of like something what would happen?
Not everyone will make the ascension.
Okay, that makes sense, because that's something I saw in the medicine journey, was that that would obviously take on the grandmothers and the original clan mothers, and would actually have the DNA and become founders ourselves through that
Well,
process.
that's the realization process of the awakening. But
Okay.
there will be those who can't realize it through, and they'll be
Yeah.
encapsulated into a secondary dream world. And however long it takes them, they'll take them that much longer. They don't have to do it in a section of unified time to say this is the only time you can awaken.
Yeah. That makes
A lot of
sense.
people are late bloomers. Okay, there are certain bugs out there. What are the cicadas? That they only come around every 12 or 13 years. So we get an awakening now, and then there'll be another awakening a decade later, an awakening a decade later. Okay, not everyone's going to awaken at the same time, but the worlds will be radically different between awakening journeys.
Is that where the Earth, what's the term you use? So creates another version of itself with the separation of densities and bilocates. Is that
More of a
really what
dream world.
ascension is?
It's more of a dream world than it is a bilocation.
Okay.
Earth can naturally separate into many worlds. It's part of its natural seventh dimensional seed planet capacity. So, how does the genetic manipulation of the human skin suit relate to our karmic resolution? It is the karmic resolution. What has been manipulated in us, we have to unmanipulate and put back to some form of regular regulation where it allows our awakening. Because there are things that have been done that to our skin suit to absolutely limit an awakening journey. Like what's been done to the medulla, what's been done to the third eye, what's been done to different aspects of the body's organs, etc.
So imagine how different it would be if we didn't have the medulla.
Yep.
And we
Or
actually
it was
thought.
doing its normal purpose. It was doing its
Yes.
actual purpose
Yeah.
versus its limited purpose now.
Yeah.
Same thing with the frontal cortex, its observation of time. We should be able to observe dozens of frequencies of time simultaneously, but our frontal cortex has been manipulated in a way where it becomes very difficult. We don't have the built in neural pathways as fetus in the womb beings. Imagine if some of your neural pathways as fetus in the womb were in your brain when you were born. Okay? That means by the time you were 2, you could talk, walk, and do mathematics and play instruments. Okay?
And that's why those fetus in the womb meditations and the heart connection and that you teach are so important at this time, isn't it? To get that, to try and open up some of those neural pathways.
Yep. That's the whole point of the fetus in the womb teachings, is to reaccess those pathways. They're still there, they're just not there as a chemical format, only there as a spiritual format. And you must maintain the high frequency of being practiced at remaining at high frequency to get into those spaces.
So how are the other, I'm taking some questions from the chat, how are the other timelines doing, and will we ever be integrated with or learn about the other timelines?
We are being integrated with them all the time. Every time you get a major X-class solar flare, something's coming in from another timeline, which we are having tonight and tomorrow for everyone to know. Dale, you want to give the warning announcement?
Yeah, so we have a major solar flare coming in at the moment. Probably, I've not seen one like this at least 2 years. So it's basically been coming in, coming out, then 2 days off, coming in, coming out, 2 days off, in and out, and it's like every week the solar flare's back, and it's just a constant cycle coming in and out of the flares. And we're in for a big one at the moment tonight for Andrew, but for us it will be tomorrow night. So those aurora hunters out there, tonight and tomorrow is going to be one of the best chances you could ever see the aurora borealis, especially tomorrow if you're in England. Yeah, it's like a G3 tomorrow.
Yep.
And that's just fucking insane. I'm like, wow.
You want to go back and play the next part of the video?
Okay, it is a concept that was, let me describe this a proper way. created in this universe and spread to other non-free-willed universes. And it was always a theory that no one could ever prove to be right
Huh.
unless you had everything set up. And beings began to migrate here when they saw the setup of what Earth was.
Huh.
They said, I can do it.
Okay.
And these beings all came from different parts and essentially synchronistically all became here on Earth. Now, I've described these beings as being so large they can't fit into a single human body that they become millions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some of these beings have fully invested into this world.
So okay. So
There's
they have-
no other parts of the
okay,
many world.
they're-
And then there are
okay.
other ones that still have parts other places. The ones that are fully invested here, the best guess from the light forces out there is they won't be able to, because Earth consciousness will absorb them, because they are contracted to be here in some way, but they've created side contracts that divert Earth's main contracts. They're in charge of the incarnation grid. They've tried killing Earth sentience and replacing it many times, but they can't. Everything fails at some point. But service to self-ascension for these beings could mean that all of their pieces parts individually ascend and become higher entities. If there's a part that's away from the planet, the guess is, does that ascend too? Or do these new pieces parts become thousands of master avatars that can create more pieces, that can go to more galaxies and do this over and over again? So they exponentially expand themselves.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's an interesting idea. Do you have any idea as to the possibility?
I have searched the Akashic record up and down. There is
No
there's
precedent?
only speeches on it by the greatest of Venusian philosophers that
Wow.
got together in a massive psychic group mind that was broadcast. The Venusians at times will declare a 72-hour piece where philosophers from the dark side, philosophers from the light side, and philosophers from the neutral side sit down in a place and just debate. They don't argue, they just debate.
Okay.
So everybody's side is put on the table
Huh.
for trillions of people to watch.
Wow.
Venus is here. They're the big philosophy thing.
Yeah.
Earth, it's in its situation where if service to self-ascension really does happen, the philosophers really have no clue what it really means. It is that new. But it's also, these multidimensional beings have been planning and planning and planning and planning versus a prime creator that's one spark of a universal creator.
Yeah.
So the universal creator may want service to self-ascension out of them. We don't know, though. But if it does, it will serve a purpose somehow, because what we're in, we've been fed a crap sandwich for a really long time, and some people don't know it's a crap sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, we want to eat something different.
Right.
All right?
Thank you very
we don't
much.
want the crap sandwich anymore.
Exactly. Exactly.
So, service to self-ascension, what is it really? Even the greatest ascended masters don't really know. There's a good guess,
yeah.
but don't really know.
It seems that it would naturally have its limitations.
Correct.
That the experience of love and unity would simply be lost on it.
Or it's not, it's the opposite of love. Hatred
Right.
is the new
Right,
love.
right.
Because it is perspective here.
Right. That's right. Huh. And it seems that hasn't been working out very well here for millions of years. So
Unless you're that multidimensional being and you're
Well-
living rich everywhere you are.
right, and that's basically what's happening. So those 15 have aspects of themselves in all the large
All the
controlling
largest family.
yeah.
If there's a banking crest, if there's a family crest, it's been hijacked by spiritual contracts.
Right.
Guaranteed.
And of course, there are probably those that are here that we don't know about, that are outside the framework of the Rothschilds and
Right.
Royals and so on and so forth. And the
Ones that
Saudis.
have kept themselves secret and only created mystery schools that have
Right.
10 students every generation.
Right, right. Wow. What about now? What about some of the other planets? So Saturn is said to be kind of a demonic. I've heard that there's a kind of a demonic force of aspect to Saturn.
That's the crazy part about Saturn. Saturn was, our solar system was built from the ground up.
Okay.
Saturn's
Huh.
piece to the puzzle was the multidimensional beings here that were instilling fake religions to get warrior followers. Saturn saw this and went, hey, that's a really good idea. All right?
Right.
Saturn at that point was a high dimensional planet that wanted to get in on the game, and it started assembling planets around it to do exactly that. And it began mining the most powerful people from other societies to its place. Well, it wanted to get into the game. So it made sure it was part of the Galactic Ascension machine because it created drama. Religious drama, spiritual drama, technological drama. I mean, even right now, it's kind of giving me the evil eye because it doesn't like me talking about it. But at this point, it's tired. It's tired.
Yes. Yeah.
It's tired.
Yeah.
We're tired. We're all done.
Yeah.
Even the
yeah.
multidimensional beings, we've been at this for so long.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
They all know it's over. It's just they're stuck in this repetitive bad habit pattern that the minions can't break because they've been in spiritually contracted for so long. They have no
Right.
clue that they're even in free will.
Right. Right. So what's going to tip the game?
It all depends on how we awaken, how much we are in fear, how much the propaganda has really seeded into people. Example, we're manifesting creating beings. If they mass broadcast asteroids, we may create that asteroid. Okay?
Right.
The asteroid that just went over Russia, that was a real asteroid, but its purpose was to create fear. Now, all those Russian people that experienced it are in fear, and they can take that energy and then reinvest it into more fear in those people. And everyone else that's witnessed it on YouTube, they can be reinvested in fear, which could create an asteroid-based event off of our own fear because we're manifesting it. These beings don't really care about the outcome of Earth. They just want to harvest as many of the most powerful souls as possible so that they're in domination and control and go somewhere else and set up a galactic ascension machine separate so there can be no quarantine that's stopping them.
They would be basically limitless at that point.
Correct.
And what's to say that hasn't happened already?
The quarantine is pretty well effective now. There was a long time that they debated what to do and the quarantine wasn't fully enforced, and it started a smuggling operation that started around 6,000, 7,000 BC. Now, there's always been a quarantine, but it used to be there were psychics that lived on a planet that their whole job was to defend Earth psychically. But you had a coalition of them, millions of them. So one world would say, for a year, my group will be active, another group, my year will be active, and they trade based off of their calendars and their positions facing Earth. Until finally they had to put ships there. Until finally they had to put the psychics in the ships, which took away from their ability to create commerce because psychics drive the vessels, psychics create the commerce, and then the technology needed to be manifested here, which was way far away from all their resources there. And they had to figure out how to take consciousness from those worlds and bring it here and have it a seamless transport while Earth was going through the densest part of space. Because there was a while that no vessels could enter our solar system. So whoever was enforcing the quarantine had to be there for 1,000,000 years until they came out of the dense part. And that means they wouldn't be with their species, wouldn't be with their soul family, and very possibly lured into the Galactic Ascension machine and never get out until now.
Wow.
So it's a big deal for them. It was really a big deal.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned something about there being a timeout recently.
Oh, yes. March 20th to the 22nd of 2013, the prime creator of this galaxy came in and audited this world's soul contracts from bottom to top. Anything that's ever lived here, anything that's ever been stuck here, all of its soul contracts were read in a complete and total expression. It came down to the final equation of where Earth was as it's traveled from the beginning of the setup of the management system we have now. The management system being the Council of 12. That is
Oh.
4 light, 4 dark, 4 neutral. The neutral all got kicked out by the dark guys because they said, we'll kill 10 billion of your homeworld people unless you leave. Neutral guys left. It broke down to 7 light, 5 dark. That means the dark could incarnate more of their lower consciousness beings here, which would ratchet Earth's consciousness down even more because the grid's power were lower and lower. And the more lower consciousness people you put into a high consciousness world, the world had to put the dimmer switch on to adapt to them. Otherwise, those consciousness couldn't be here.
Right.
That's hijacking the incarnation grid. The Council of 12, when the audit came through, they tried to use CERN, the Large Hadron Collider in France, to fudge the numbers, the best way I'll describe it.
Ah.
It was seen through. They were all ejected from the game. All of those people that were part of that project
Okay.
were ejected. This goes for the light too, because the light was doing some pretty nasty things at the time too. There are light beings that are so far up the butt of light, they only see darkness. They're into polarity so far, and there's no neutral side in between them. They're just battling to battle because they battled for so long.
Wow.
And I'll win at any cost. And when you say win at any cost, you're not a light being anymore.
No.
You need to go heal, you need
Right.
to go back to your source and look at this from a different perspective.
Right.
And that includes the dark guys too.
Right.
Because even there were some dark guys that turned out to be light simply because that was the only way to counter the light.
Huh.
Exactly. Creation of fake dark of there's light beings that are in fake dark beings and dark
Right.
beings and fake light
Right.
beings, and then you have fake light beings who are both.
Wow. Tricky.
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 And no matter how light you are, if you do that for 1,000,000 years, you lose your way.
I would think so.
You lose your way.
I would think so. Are there still ascended masters who are legitimate ascended masters, or has that all been pretty much corrupted?
The texts. Okay, if you have an ascended master that makes a book, and then that person writes the book, and he dies, the next books would be co-opted. The next
Okay,
generation's
okay.
books would be co-opted.
Okay.
And then there are other people that were here to be a fake ascended master because they knew that they were going to publish 10,000 years of books, or 1,000 years of books, or 500 years of books. And then you have, best way to describe it, there are no actual ascended masters walking our planet.
Right.
It's actually by
Right.
rule like that. Okay? And though many of them have broken the rules and been ejected from the game,
Huh.
okay? And there are others that have figured out the subtleties so that they help us plan our contracts so that we can get in here and be powerful. And then there are ones that help us plan our life 1,000 lifetimes ahead of time, 10,000 lifetimes ahead of time, 1,000,000 lifetimes ahead of time.
Wow.
For me to be here, I had to do that. I had to plan a long time in advance. I had to be 1,000 chess moves ahead of somebody that's on 50 million chess moves.
Right. Right. It seems like it would be a pretty rare thing for somebody like
In my
you.
reading skills, I have met many, many, many people that are like that.
Huh.
I call it the resistance of free earth. It's a pot of
Okay.
one. And each person that's been planning their lifetime, hundreds of lifetimes in advance, is a resistance of free earth.
Mhm.
Because their purpose here is to find the soul codes among all of our commonality of species and then complete them. And once we have a complete soul code as a species, domination and control loses its most important peg, which is the ability to keep us separate as soul families.
Wow.
That was a lot of information there. I waited until that part. Very important. The Ascended Masters are here to help us plan our spiritual contracts so we can have powerful lives. The vast majority of them do not live here in the physical. It is only the books and texts that they have left behind, and many of those books and texts have been co-opted for various reasons, to make it very hard to find the actuality of a truth teacher, where it must be based on the worth of resonance of truth.
So was that the Archons then? He just had to assassinate every ascended master on the.
They didn't assassinate; they got ejected.
Okay, yeah.
They got ejected.
Yeah.
They basically were told no more interference, and these are the rules of interfering, and they would try to stretch it and get a yellow card, like in football, and then quite a few of them got a red card, and then they try to be classic Italian, like faking the injury.
So for Saturn, and I remember you saying that Mars was like kind of in its coma. So what's happening with those? Are they going to be here with the change and change themselves, or are they going to go to another universe? As in, like, will
All,
they
all,
go?
the, all 66 planets in the Galactic Ascension machine will end up here in the end.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
Aspects of them will go to the other parts,
yeah.
the other galaxy or universe.
So do you remember in about 2020, Andrew, we did a Saturn revocation on mentorship?
Yep.
Was that because at that time Saturn was creating lots of drama? That was to do
The
with the
answer,
blood moon at the time, wasn't it? I think.
short answer is yes,
Mm.
but there's so much more involved. At that time, Saturn was trying to move in on the 15 multidimensional beings. He was trying to make his mafia more present here and forced incarnating people, powerful souls that had been living in his cycle for a very long time to be loyalists here on Earth. Okay? Well, the 15 multidimensional beings and many other multidimensional beings of the light and the dark didn't want that to happen. They didn't want another player in the game.
Mm.
Okay?
Mm.
And that's what that revocation was about. Let's not make this worse by adding more players to the game.
No. Yeah,
Time out.
yeah. It wasn't a positive celestial teacher.
That's why the audit came.
Mm.
It's actually triggered because of what Saturn was doing. All right, we have to have a complete understanding of the books and the cooked books. Okay, and once you understand the book and the cookbooks, you can begin actual rewriting of the Akashic records that allowed people to be removed from particularly dominant lineages that wouldn't let them out of the lineage and go and live in other soul families.
So was that one of the main things why CERN was created then, for the audit to stop?
No. CERN has many purposes, but its
Yeah.
main purpose now is to phase Earth out of reality when solar flares are coming. Because every time a solar flare comes here, we have a greater chance of remembering the totality of who we are. Think of it as a mass spiritual deja vu or a mass spiritual remembering, or triggering into a higher frequency of awakenedness versus sleepiness. So it's a way to phase out the actual light particles coming from the sun so they don't affect human beings as much or have no effect.
Is it successful at that?
It has been quite a few times, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But then a weasel came around.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know about a weasel, type in CERN weasel. You will discover a story of a weasel who made it into the heart of Mount Doom.
Of Mordor, the heart of Mordor.
Exactly, threw the ring into the molten fire.
It got in with a ring.
And that is a real story. An actual weasel got into the core parts of CERN and caused $7.5 billion in damage and shut it down for 4 years.
Wow. Imagine it, the weasel's life review when it died.
One weasel, exactly. Imagine that dude's life review.
Holy shit, he'd be so proud. He'd be like, look at this. Proud weasel.
So someone is asking, what are the potential here for today and tomorrow's solar flares? Whenever there's a solar flare coming, this is where you want to be doing your spiritual work. Okay? It's the best time to be doing it. Be open to the spiritual frequencies. It's not just about doing a meditation, but if that's where you start, that's where you start. Hopefully you've had a regular style of practice that's been advancing your skill sets a little bit at a time, so that when the solar flares come and do interrupt your dreams and you begin waking up to your dreams, that's what happens to a lot of people. They have very intense dreams. They wake up the next day, they don't feel like they've slept at all because the dreams were so intense. Then there are other people, they wake up and they knew that they dreamed, they can't remember anything from it because they didn't have enough energy in their bodies to retain it, because they hadn't done any form of practice that would enhance the spiritual muscles of remembering.
And it's a great chance to work with the whirling rainbow as well. Like, even when you are doing your meditations, to bring the earth dreaming mind around you and actually start using the aurora and start connecting to the home of the grandmothers even more. That's what I do anyway when there's solar flares.
So, Sake Ascended Masters, the Stadium of Ascended Masters, us there. How does what is shared there relate to the meta teachings snippet? All right, so there is a meta teaching about the Stadium of Ascended Masters that's in the Living the Mystical Life Daily course. It's near one of the last ones where part of your multidimensional journey is to be an Ascended Master in the Stadium of Ascended Masters, broadcasting what it took in this physical world to be an Ascended Master who didn't get kicked out, live within the physical constructs of the 3D world, and still manifested this massive spiritual world that could assemble beings through the refinement of spiritual contracts, and to be multiple beings on stage pro promoting the same message, we are creating it all. And for the journey of we are creating it all, we can step up to be galactic mediums of peace or celestial mediums of peace who can work with the celestial levels of reorganizing spiritual contracts for soul families who don't have enough skill sets within the family itself to rewrite the contracts. They need somebody external to come in and help them begin the process of understanding why a contract was written to trap them in a lineage and how to begin untrapping them from the lineage one at a time through their daily living journey and the lifestyle that they choose to live.
Did you get that? cricket.
Yes.
Mic drop.
Up your flow. Here you go. Here you go.
Wow.
When I do that, it's completely natural to me. It's just like
So, just in the chat, will CERN affect the incoming flares, or is it disabled right now?
CERN is active right now, but they are not actively trying to shield Earth from it. They realized the weasel last time, and so they're trying to do other nefarious things with it. Mostly try to smuggle people off world or technology off world. It's mostly smuggling operations now. They all know the gig is up. Even I said it back in 2013, the gig is up. They all know it. Now they're just trying to get away with all their toys.
So, one time you spoke about Earth and Mars being in the darker part of the galaxy. And then when we cross the galactic plane, which we have, haven't we? Did Mars and Earth both go together?
No.
Or did no?
That's when Mars was in its comatic state, and the beings on Mars took over its duties as a celestial frequency, which forced many of these beings living on Mars who didn't agree with each other and in fact hated each other. But if they didn't work together, the celestial source would die and they wouldn't be able to live on that planet anymore. It would go through a massive breakup and breakdown of the actual ecology and environment that's still supporting life there. So many of those beings basically become the nursemaid to a Mars in a coma, and by doing that had to go through a rapid education of what it takes to be celestial mediums of peace. And then after the passing of the galactic central plane, Mars began to wake up from its coma. It didn't stay awake, but it would have moments of awakenedness in which it didn't even take its power back. It was just trying to decide if it wanted to die or live. And now as Mars is at a state it's chose to live, but it still hasn't recovered from its wounds. It's still very challenged. But if it does ever wake up, the first thing it'll do is probably go right after Saturn. And we don't really want that to happen because we don't need another celestial war process.
Yeah. Wow.
And was Venus the hospital planet?
Yes.
Yeah. And still is?
Yes, it has been for millions of years, actually.
Okay.
That's why it's in the Galactic Ascension machine.
Yeah. Okay.
There are many CERN revocations out there. Go to Facebook, Friends Who Like Andrew Bartzis. There's a huge archives of revocations that I've done from shows or ones that people have uploaded.
That's interesting. What role are the people in Middle Earth doing to help us in our growth, and how can we work with them to unify growth?
That's a tough question to answer because many of them don't really influence our growth because they live so long and we live such short lives. It's not like they don't care. We're just not a big factor into their choices. We're just another herd that's going to grow and pass on. Another herd, and the pool of souls keep re-entering Earth has been the same pool of souls for a very long time. It's only in the last 10 to 12 to 15 years that larger volumes of new souls are coming in and old souls are leaving. So the old soul pool is watering down now. Maybe it'll stretch it to mid 80s, like 1987, 88 is really when a lot of the older souls, like, we're done here, we have to move on. But what ended up happening is they ended up going to Hollow Earth and functioning at a different time level. And that's why so many beings from an advanced future are coming back to the present now, which you see in, throughout conspiracy world history, that their future time travelers coming back now to figure out what actually had happened, because the DNA in our particular time is what is needed for other worlds to fix their broken DNAs.
And so eventually, with the like high solar flares and the solar maximum, is that going to mean the inner Earth dark guys or whatever won't be able to be here anymore? Because it won't be able
Well, that's already happening.
Yeah.
The thing is, they're adapting technology to stay here as long as they can, or influencing their subordinates to take over their mission. Again, there will always be those that are going to be here till the very dead, the last take the power of their cold dead hands. I've stated that since the very beginning, because they still believe that they can win for whatever reason. Okay,
Still an illusion. Delusion.
not a delusion to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've
Fair
just
enough.
spent the
Yeah.
last 5 million years challenging the Great Mystery and the Great Spirit and the Galactic Prime Creator, and it's been a fun ride for them. It's been a fun ride. They've had a lot of really powerful victories.
Slingshot.
Yeah,
Great.
they've had a lot of really powerful victories in thumping their chest. Okay? They proved a lot to the point where a whole brand new galaxy had to be made to deal with the karmic issue of this whole galaxy. Okay?
You say that again. Another galaxy had to be built to deal with the karma from this galaxy. So, like an
Yes.
overspill.
Well, no, because we're going to eliminate karma here, and those
Oh.
that still want to experience it can go to that other galaxy, which was made with not one prime creator, but a collective of many prime creators.
So, is that like a bifurcation process?
That is the bifurcation.
That is the okay, yeah.
So I'm guessing the last multi-dimensional beings will just be recycled then, the ones who.
I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not. All right, let's play the last part. We should only have, what, 5 minutes left, Joel?
So at this point, it seems that things are as divisive as they could be, and
Right. It's reached its peak of divisiveness.
so what we might be seeing from now forward, since 2014 is kind of the drop dead date.
Well, this can be extended out 20
Oh.
years if they want.
Okay.
The quarantine grid is very enforced now. There are vessels in our atmosphere that are taking consciousness and reinvesting it into the earth, slowly raising the energies of earth like trickle charging a battery.
Okay.
If they raise it too fast, there'll be people on this planet who simply can't exist here and fade out.
Okay.
And they don't want that to happen. They want the graduating classes.
Right.
So the quarantine is well in effect. When I say this can be extended out 20 years, it's all about enough consciousness here to accept the first two stages of the Dreamtime events that we have that lead into the harder parts of consciousness to accept, where you could have an entire city, in a brief second of unity, no time, completely go, what's happening, and ascend. And that's what actually happened to some of the Mayan people in the 600 AD parts.
Huh.
They did that, but they purposely let them ascend but they didn't get a full ascension. They actually got sold to a other domination and control species.
Ooh.
And that's been very common. They would let certain societies raise their vibration really fast and then cut the cords of vibration and just mass teleport them to another planet in slavery.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
For the exchange of technology.
Wow. That's pretty ruthless.
Yeah.
That's pretty ruthless. So it looks like we're up against quite a bit of...
Well, they can't sell us in slavery anymore. That's what the quarantine was about. The quarantine has many levels. One of the most important aspects to understand is a human being in this world, we have diseases here that aren't created by man.
Oh, right.
Okay, and those diseases are purposely brought here, so if a human being is taken off-world, it could spread a pan-galactic virus that could kill trillions. And in fact, it has happened not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 11 times.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Trillions were killed each time. Not billions, trillions.
What about the possibility of the development of nanotechnology as an ascension tool for the dark? In other words, using nanotechnology to harvest our physical selves. There's a lot of talk about chemtrails.
Okay. When it comes to technology, there's always the fear factor of the technology.
Mhm.
Fear is more powerful than the technology in this time right now. The technology is vitally important. The creation of chemtrails, its vast majority now is fear-based because it was exposed.
Right.
And once it gets exposed, they go, well, you just gave me a fear tool.
Right.
But it's being exposed allows people to wake up and allows people to gain consciousness,
Right.
but it creates more fear. The actual Akashic view of chemtrails, it's more to block out the galactic energies that are coming in
Right.
and to create a different hue. And that different hue interacts with your pineal gland. Combine that with fluoride and all the other things that they put into our foods. It's to limit our ability to stay in consciousness quiet, where you go into the silence. That's its purpose.
Mm.
If it makes you sick, it gives you the sniffles.
Right.
If it causes cancer, all of that prevents you from going inside
Right. Right.
and hearing silence.
Right. Right. One of my guests, Andrew Norton Weber, brought up the idea that using distilled water flushes out the pineal gland. It removes the fluoride that's calcified.
It can.
And so that could be a tool that people could use quickly to...
My personal view about this pineal gland, the whole thing is a psyop.
I was wondering about that.
The whole
I
thing
wanna-
is a psyop that was purposely put out to make people, I have to decalcify my pineal gland.
Right.
Well, guess what? You're still stuck in fear.
Right. Right.
You're still stuck in
Right.
fear.
Right.
The science of fluoride is to create a crystalline structure in the fluid sac of the pineal gland.
Mhm.
The crystalline structure, its purpose is to take scalar wave information
Mhm.
from etheric satellites so that you would be staying in your local Dreamtime Sacred Geometry City.
Well, that doesn't sound like a good thing.
No, well, there's the example, those transformers, those big garbage can looking things on every light pole, certain distance,
Right.
create an omnidirectional field that interact with the crystals in your pineal gland, which
Okay.
keep you trapped there. So you can't get into global dream time. So
Oh.
yes, decalcifying is good. It is a fear tool. So it's both that damned if you do, damned if you don't. But when you realize how the system interacts with it, there's so many ways. The plugs that are in this room create an electromagnetic field.
Right.
The old school homes had what's called knob and tube wiring, which is unshielded wiring around a ceramic tube. And that created an omnidirectional field too that interacted with the different version of the pineal suppression system.
Okay. So we're not going to be seeing any change in the electrical. They basically throwing everything at us that they can.
Correct. The big thing is the wires on the poles should have been put underground. How many hurricanes have wiped them out, and they haven't figured it? And corporate is all about the bottom dollar.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Why wouldn't they do it? The answer is they need them above ground to control you.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. And then, of course, we know that their technology is at least 100 years or more in advance.
Thousands.
Maybe thousands, right? So what's going on with this? They're planning a whole new, a larger collider. So are those the same, is that the same group of scientists that's trying to...
Okay, CERN's original function was to fudge the numbers of the audit,
okay.
but it had other functions too. It was a teleportation device. So if the Earth was, they knew that there was no chance whatsoever of winning, even though there is now, they would try to teleport Earth before it went out of the densest part, so it would go back into the densest part at the earliest date, and the people in that dense part would dream the rest of the solar system back to them. We're manifesting, co-creating on the graduation timeline. All those other planets are intricately linked into that graduating timeline. Manifesting, co-creating spirits in that timeline literally can bring us all back.
And pow. Where do you want to start?
Process.
Process. Cricket.
The data.
So,
Analyze.
how do you protect and heal your pineal gland? Daily practice. Learning how to do guide your own guided meditations, visualizations. Regular sun gazing that doesn't include staring with your eyes open at the sun. All sorts of things can depolarize, decrystallize the thing. It's learning how to use it and building up the spiritual muscle.
So that couldn't happen.
Where were the Mayans teleported to? Dozens of worlds, and then they led a rebellion to those masters and are now completely independent.
There isn't enough power in the system for that to repeat itself, is it, for a group to... No, because it's an individual ascension anyway. I've just answered my own question. So, Pauline, how did the previous pandemic karmic resolution virus impact the DNA of planet harvesting?
It means they had to be very selective about what was smuggled off-world. And they had to do intense biological research down to the most smallest of DNA rung to make sure something wasn't implanted into it, like a switch. Once you're taken away from Earth's unique celestial frequency, this disease would appear in your DNA and then manifest in your blood. And yes, as I said before, trillions were killed. And that's why they're selectively trying to get the most valuable forms of DNA off the planet.
So was that done from like transporting loosh and stuff like that?
Loosh is not DNA. Loosh is harvested energy. It's something different. Harvested energy still has a commercial value out there. High commercial value. Especially the good stuff that comes from Earth. It's like moonshine.
It's hard to imagine that trillions of beings getting taken out from anything like that.
Well, remember, it was engineered to do that.
Okay.
It was purposely engineered to take out millions or trillions. That's going to get us banned on YouTube. I said the P word with an emic at the end.
So questions in the chat. Is there any more questions there? So we've answered about the pineal gland, the Mayan. I think we're up to date with the questions.
I was a lot more free with my speech then than I am now.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
And there's reasons.
Yeah.
The world wasn't exposed to so much conspiracy garbage as it was then. People were still new to it. Okay? So much has been regurgitated, new delusions added to it that have no truth factor to it anymore.
What's it like for you
Imagine if this came
listening
out
back,
now.
Andrew?
Imagine if this came out now.
It would be so different because it's such a different time and
Yeah.
experience, so different compared to what it was then.
Because I snuck in at the right time.
Because a lot of it would be weaponized now,
Yeah.
and people wouldn't know what to do with it. It'd just screw them up even more.
Right.
Even more.
We're in such a fear-based society,
Yeah.
aren't we? In a fear-based world.
Good.
Do you believe there's layers of reality that you are not aware of?
Yeah. There's plenty of layers of reality I'm not aware of.
Great mystery.
Yeah, I can't predict the great mystery, nor do I want to try anymore.
No. Imagine how shit it would be if you did.
Yeah, I'm not poking the dragon anymore. That's part of my career is done. I'm like a World War II fighter ace. On the side of my galactic records, I've got 5 pokes, successful pokes. I don't need a 6th.
So as a PD, can you talk about the local dream time and global dream time?
Local dream time is your local town, township, county, city. Global dream time, the whole world, North Pole, South Pole. So that was the only real separation. North Pole is the ancestors of the past, South Pole is the ancestors of the future. That's the only separation between them.
Are all the cities still sacred geometry cities?
Yes.
Streaming cities. Okay. Yeah.
But they've got no one to fix them, right?
Yeah, no wizards. No tech team.
Fixers.
Yeah.
They've all retired. They've all fucked off.
Yeah. So that will gradually dismantle then. The sacred
Say that
geometry
again.
dream time.
Say that again.
Will the sacred geometry dream time gradually dismantle?
We will have to dismantle many parts of it because it has physical constructs we have to take apart.
Okay.
But that's also again part of the awakening and cleaning up the house before we get off world.
Okay.
It's like you graduate, but your mom says you can graduate, but you can't leave until your room is clean perfectly.
You're not coming out here until you've cleaned up
Carpets
your shit.
vacuumed, clothes folded.
Yeah.
Okay, not a shoe overturned.
I'm going to go check your room. I'm going to make sure you've done it.
Exactly. I'm not answering C-word questions.
I love that.
What is the connection with our dream time? I've lost the rest of it now. Where is it? And why is it important to be conscious of our dream time?
I'll let you answer that one, Laura.
What's the connection of what with our dream time? I'm not really sure what that means. What is our connection with our dream time? Our dream time is our unity. So we're in, it's our singularity. So we're in duality as we manifest this life here now. And our dream time is the unity consciousness. So any work you do in your dream time, it's really important to be conscious of your dream time and to maybe send your precogs out into your dream time to do some good work and connect with your ancestors in the Aurora Borealis, if I can say it properly. Connect with your ancestors in the North Pole in dream time and do, some dream time revocations. So you keep your dream spaces clear of things that can squat, old things that can squat in your dreaming worlds and affect your dream time. It's where we do so much of our work in the dream time.
As we're ever evolving dreaming beings, dreaming this great dream of remembering and awakening at the same time.
So to answer Orwell's second part of the question, he had like a couple different statements. You're pretty accurate there. Yes, we are singular beings in a multidimensional world. True infinity is in singular. Great way to put it. You're pretty much on. If you listen to more of the shows, I talk about that stuff quite frequently, though. How we have to relate as a singularity and a duality in this world that demands us to be a duality from birth. Well, let's call it an end to the show. That has been a fun time reviewing this. We had some really good audience interaction, and we will be back. So, Laura, give a way for people to get a hold of you.
Laura2feathers@gmail.com with the number 2. Thank you. Yeah, if you'd like a private session or want to know anything about combined healing therapies in York in January.
Dale?
If you want your pineal gland cobwebs cleaning out, a book of psychic surgery with myself, head over to daletobin.com. And yeah, thank you. What a great show.
Yeah, thanks.
So, answer this last question from Rigel. Yes, alcohol affects your dream world negativity, but also is about how much you drink. So if you want to get a hold of me, you can go to my website, andrewbartzis.com. We got a bunch of new products. In the top left corner, you will see a QR code next to Laura over there. That is for the new bootcamp product. For those of you who want to start the daily practice and incorporate it in your life, go ahead and scan that QR code. That'll take you right to the shop page, and you'll be able to get that. We also have our light language product out there, which should be above Dale's left head. No, it's there. It's light language on the right side, left side also. So if you want to be able to practice light language, we got a really great 2-part series of practicing light language. We highly encourage you to pick up a daily practice. All right, everybody, we will be back tomorrow for Friday night's game stream, and then on Tuesday for another Talking Stick show. All right, Joel, take us away.
Peace out.
Thank you.